Welcome to the Other Discovery Show. It's the podcast that's not about podcasts. It's about all the other things we discovered throughout the week. I'm Kirk.
And I am Zach. And I discovered that NASA is about to have a live stream where you can check out them launching a new satellite. So I always just like tracking this because it's one of the benefits of the time we live in, where it's not like, oh, I need to go down to the Air Force Base or to like one of the NASA locations to see a launch. You can watch it live streams because that's the new world. And
I've watched a few of these live stream now.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. They're doing it again from a Falcon 9 rocket, the SpaceX rocket. It's on Saturday, November 21st is when it's scheduled. So that's next Saturday, I think. And basically they're launching a new satellite that essentially is just going to be another one that's in collaboration with NOAA that'll be looking at everything. But it's just another cool chance to see a rocket launch. But I saw this and it made me think of like, you know what's going on with NOAA? Because we used to use NOAA all the time. And for anybody who doesn't know, that is essentially the government's weather.
That's what all the farmers. Department. That's what all the farmers use when there's a freeze coming. It's very accurate, and it's not privatized, so it has
everything.
It's the giant network. There's stations everywhere. It's not just the Weather Channel's got stations here. It's the government stations that are all these government buildings and stuff. It's a very big network, so it's very accurate.
It stands for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and it is this year their 50-year anniversary. They've been going for 50 years now, and they honestly tie what they're doing to, in 1807, Thomas Jefferson founded the U.S. Coast and Geodetic Survey, so survey of the coast, to start charting the oceans and then also start to like work with all that. And then because the interesting kind of thing about this is when you think about it, they're talking about the oceans and they're talking about the atmosphere, which don't necessarily seem linked, but for a really long time, they have been dedicated to both of those things because they're completely linked. And so in the end, some of those oceanic studying groups ended up leading to this. So it's just a cool thing that NOAA also turned 50 this year.
So it's a birthday announcement and,
a chance to watch
coming up.
A rocket shoot into the sky.
Awesome. Zach, have you ever seen a meat shower?
I don't think so.
Okay. I haven't either. A meat shower is exactly what it sounds like, but it turns out there's a pretty simple and likely explanation.
Wait, what does it sound like? Are you showering
it's a shower
the meat?
Of meat.
Or are you showering in the meat?
So here's the story. On a cool March day in Kentucky in 1876, hunks of meat rained down from the sky. And it's been reported in all these old newspapers from Kentucky. And there's actually a professor of Transylvania University, which apparently is in Lexington, Kentucky, but it sounds like it's, for vampires.
Maybe it is.
Maybe it's the vampire school in Kentucky. Kentucky vampires.
Kentucky vampires. I would watch that movie. I'll be honest with you. I would watch that movie.
They're not dangerous because they don't have all their teeth.
Oh, that's the twist. They have to figure out how to survive with no teeth. Sorry for anyone from Kentucky.
Sorry.
We're joking.
We're just
joke. Joking.
It's a joke. But apparently he was on a show, a podcast, actually. Let's take note of this one because it sounds interesting. He was on a podcast called episode of Motherboard. It's a podcast, Science Solved It.
Motherboard.
Science Solved It. I don't know if it's Motherboard or Science Solved It. Anyway, it sounds like a fascinating story. But in that, he said, in 1876, if you said, oh, it was a horse wagon full of meat, that was like saying now it's like a big gulp for McDonald's. So everybody knew exactly what that meant. So apparently it was like a it was like a zeitgeist. Like everyone knew about this shower of meat that had fallen from the sky in Kentucky. And apparently it was like a lot, like not a little bit. It was like a lot, like it could fill up a wagon. That's what they say. It was a good bit of meat. And he's the expert in this meat shower. Goad
Meat
became
shower
interested.
expert, the best title you can give yourself.
Goad became interested in the meat showers after moving to Kentucky and picking up a book about local weather phenomena, which I have always been fascinated with, like crazy things that have happened, like ball lightning and stories about that. It's crazy. Like there's really cool stuff with weather, and you talk about NOAA, there's crazy weather stuff. Shortly after, while going through the school's archives to photograph old portraits, he stumbled across an old jar with a small chunk of flesh floating in amber liquid. Based on his knowledge of the event and the dating of the jar, he was able to determine that it was a sample of that very meat shower. At the time of the meat rain, locals were puzzled about what could have caused it.
Meat rain.
They tried to determine what kind of meat it was, with guesses that ranged from mutton to bear meat, and some neighbors were even brave enough to eat it. Okay, if meat falls out of the sky and you don't know where it came from, don't eat it, guys. This is a PSA from the podcast Discovery Show.
Does it need to be? Isn't it natural selection at that point? If you're eating sky meat, you're just rolling the dice.
He even has a quote. He says, "So meat falls from the sky, and apparently that's not alarming enough for them not to eat it." Goad says. But even after tasting it, the townspeople of Olympia Springs, where the meat fell, couldn't surmise how it happened. Samples like the one sent to Transylvania University were preserved and sent to scientists around the country, but before they got a chance to present their hypothesis, everyone kind of lost interest. So that's where Goad comes in hundreds of years later. And they do have a pretty gross but makes sense theory as to what it was. Basically, the theory is vultures, when they are eating, a dead animal, if they get scared off and sometimes they will eat till they're too heavy to fly very well, and they will literally make themselves vomit. So they're saying it was like a giant flock of vultures that apparently had eaten a ridiculous amount of meat, and something scared all of them at the same time. And it was just vulture vomit all over these people at this farm.
I guarantee they're not able to wrap their mind around that because they ate it. They're like, "Oh, this is pretty good." They don't want to know that it was vulture inside of a vulture.
His quote is, "It's not all like it was run through a meat slicer, so it was different sizes and it was torn to pieces. So it does make sense. And it also makes sense because the scientists who later looked at it under a microscope didn't venture any guess as to what animal it came from, but they noticed that there was cartilage and lung tissue. So it was like the insides of an animal as well, not just like flesh." So it's gross, but
that's pretty gross. Yeah.
That's meat rain for you.
Honestly, the grossest part is that people just ate it.
Yeah. People are gross. People eat anything, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I was like, I have heard the story because in chat they're talking about maybe it was somebody blew up a cow. The one where they blew up that whale that beached itself.
Yeah.
That's meat rain. Or no, what do you call it? Meat shower.
Meat shower.
Because they didn't know how to move the whale, so they put dynamite in it, but they didn't put enough, so all it did was shoot like 40-pound chunks of whale all over the place.
Surprised that they didn't freaking kill somebody.
It really is amazing. But whoever just came up with the idea, you know what? That thing's big. We need to get it out of here. Let's blow it up.
I'm sure you haven't watched The Boys season 2 this year, but
I have not seen season 2.
Crazy scene with a whale, and it's gross, and it's just like that. It's preposterous and gross, and it's like, what the heck just happened?
I mean, that sounds like The Boys.
Yeah,
pretty much all of it. Yeah, that's I don't really know how I feel about knowing that, but I know it now.
Yeah, Kelneck, we actually have talked about the frog rain one as well before, I believe.
What about purple rain?
One. Purple rain.
Okay. Kirk, we have missed not one but 2 calls from Johnny.
I know. I'm guilty. I'm guilty. I think that I heard the call on like a Monday night or a Saturday night. So it was like right after we recorded. I told Zach, and then I completely forgot until I think yesterday when I saw he called again. I was like, oh my gosh, we've already got a call from Johnny, and now he's called again.
Yeah. So, Johnny, we're sorry. It's time to play Johnny's calls so everybody can hear him. So, for anybody who doesn't know, Johnny is a regular on the Disco Hotline, which is our hotline that anybody can call and drop a discovery. Tell us how you're doing. Tell us whatever you want. And honestly, I'm just going to throw out the number right now. The number is 813-708-9118. So call us. Give us a call on the Disco Hotline. If you have a discovery, you can just drop it right there. You can also just say, hey, we'd love to hear from you. But yeah, we have a hotline, and you can just leave us a voicemail. And Johnny
At the voicemail, we don't answer it. So it's easy. Just leave a voicemail, and we'll play it.
We could answer it, but it's not hooked up to either of our phones.
True.
So it's just...
we have it set up for voicemail only.
Yeah, it's just doing voicemail. So here's call number 1.
Hey, boys, it's Johnny. Hey, how you doing? Oh, man, I am so sorry. I've been really, really busy. Since this COVID and whatnot, I got laid off from my job. I used to be an entertainer. And, man, it's just been crazy lately. I got some work that picked up now that the bars are reopening. So I wanted to sing a little song of what I sing for my people, down at the bar and the club. So here we go. I hear the train a-coming. It's coming around the bend. I ain't seen the sunshine since. I don't know when I'm stuck in Folsom Prison. Time keeps dragging on. That's it right there, man. That's Johnny Cash. All right, well, hey, you guys, keep up the good work. I've been listening to the show, and, I heard that the salad dressing, you guys was talking about salad dressing a little while back, and I was just going to give you my little recipe for Johnny's for the week. Yeah. All right, so here we go. Here it is, buddy. All right, so you put in just a little bit of vinegar. You can do any kind you want. You could do a little bit of balsamic or just a plain vinegar. It's delicious. And then you put in a little bit of spicy mustard. As your emulsifier, you got to emulsify. You know what I'm saying? Jack, I know you know what I'm talking about. I don't know about Kirk, though. He don't know nothing about the salad dressing. Anyway, put a little bit of that, and then you put a little bit of olive oil in there. Put a little bit of lemon. Squeeze that lemon real good. You know what I'm saying? And then you drop it in there, and then you give it a little shaky shake in a little container, and you are good to go. Simple and delicious. All right, guys, I'll catch you later. Peace out.
So, yeah, Johnny sang Johnny Cash for us.
Okay, if we get a takedown notice from Twitch because of Johnny's freaking phone call, he's saying Johnny Cash.
I mean, luckily they can't. I don't think they're going to be picking it up because I'm looking at the transcript here. And he said, I used to be an entertainer. And here's how Google translated it. I used to be attended penis and man.
The Google, okay.
No, but the next sentence is even better. It's just been pretty lazy and got some work that picked up now that the balls are reopening.
Oh, God, what?
Like, all of the transcript is messed up.
Get your mind out the gutter, man.
I know. So I'm hoping that because Google can't understand what he's saying, that whatever the algorithm is won't pick that up as Johnny Cash.
All right. And why is it that I don't know anything?
I don't know.
Everybody that calls loves you, hates me, and I don't know anything.
I don't know why he's going at you about emulsifiers and salad dressings, but he is.
1,000% know what emulsifier means.
Well, yeah, I knew he did. What we need to do is we need just to have Kirk is going to do a tasty discovery next week where he makes salad dressing, and he can make Johnny's salad dressing.
It does sound tasty.
Okay, that was only one. Here's
Johnny
number
take two. Okay,
Johnny take two.
Hey, boys, it's Johnny again. Hey, how y'all doing? Hey, listen up. I was listening to the show last week. You guys were talking about the GBBO, Great British Bake Off, right? And, I was just saying I'm a big fan, big-time fan. And I really, I miss Mary Berry quite a bit. I like Prue, the new judge. Anyway, I was just going to say that I do have another culinary tip. You guys were talking about making some ice cream. And I was just going to say that if you want to make some ice cream, here's how you do it. Here's how you do it right. You got to use some dextrose. You can't use table sugar because it will crystallize too quickly. You got to use dextrose. That's right. And then you can always put a little additive in there called guar gum. And it is a natural occurring substance found in plants. And it will help to thicken your ice cream. It is delicious and makes it real creamy. So that's all I got for today. I hope you guys are doing good. I miss you. I love you, Zach. Bye-bye.
So, okay.
Why only Zach?
Once
no
again,
one loves me.
Once again, I mean, this is just Johnny. But Johnny, Google cannot translate Johnny because, he kept saying dextrose. But what we got in this is you got to use sex stroke.
What the
and
heck,
then also,
Google?
Yeah. And then also, then you can always put a little additive in there. Welcome. And it's a natural occurring substance found in plants, and it will help you thicken your ice cream. It's delicious and makes it real curry me off.
What?
So yeah, there's no trying to translate Johnny. But yeah, thanks for calling in, Johnny. We appreciate it. It's great to have you calling in. And yeah, we hope anybody else that would like to call in, feel free to. So I just learned about a startup by Tim Berners-Lee. Do you know who that is?
It sounds familiar, but I can't.
He is the inventor of the World Wide Web. So we'll get into that in a second.
That's right. I've heard the name. I heard the name.
Yeah,
and I was like, where did I hear that name?
Yeah, he's famous in the internet stuff. But he has a new startup called Inrupt that wants to make it so that your personal data is not given to everyone on the internet, essentially. So they store your personal information separately they have their own type of thing. It's called TODS. This is a whole new thing. So this is just kind of theoretical at this point, but pretty crazy. And what they have is an open source data storage technology called Solid. So any data you have is in a pod, and you put the pod in Solid. And then what you would do is you would choose when that data can be accessed. So it's essentially like medical records. You set your medical records up in this thing that is essentially encrypted and nobody can have access to unless they have built into this system. Then they can request access to your data and you can give it to them voluntarily. So he has this whole idea where he's trying to make it so that you have more control over how your data is used. And in the end, the reason this is kind of picking up is because it could move away from just bulk harvesting all the data in order to serve ads and into something that's more specific. So everybody would be specifically requesting and using data on a need basis rather than just like bulk harvesting it like happens with Facebook or anything else. So it's essentially, in the end, Facebook ends up being the most effective marketing platform in the history of the world because they know everything about you and they can very, very targeted put ads in front of you. And so this is trying to move away from that. And the reason he's trying to do that is because this is the man who invented the World Wide Web. So I don't know kind of if you've looked into like the history of kind of how the internet formed, Kirk.
Mm-mm.
So it started out with just like a network that was created by like the military. And it was just they connected computers together for the military. So
almost
all
like
it was
one-to-one email, right? Like,
yeah, pretty much. They did not have for the lack of the better word, a web, a whole collection of everybody being on the network. It was like they wanted to prove the concept that you could connect it. And they did prove that. But then in, I believe it was 89. Okay, in 89, Tim Berners-Lee got upset because it was hard finding information stored on different computers. And so he wrote a memo that was just called Information Management, a Proposal. And then he started using the words like hypertext, hypermedia, World Wide Web. So in 1990, he built something called the World Wide Web, one word, which was a web of hypertext documents, which basically meant he wanted it so that you could type something into an address bar and go directly to something you're looking for. And that was his entire concept that literally made how we view the internet, because literally the www is the World Wide Web. It was originally supposed to be the specific address for what he was doing, because he was working with he was working at CERN. So like it was called www.cern.something. So it was that specific address, but it just took. And so people were like, oh, well, we need to have www on there. You don't have to have that anymore, obviously. You can do a lot of different things with domains. But that's how it all stuck. And so this is the man that's involved there. And I think that mainly he wanted to try to figure out how he could address some of the data issues that are happening right now. So it's just interesting to see kind of what he's up to, because he was so important to how we view the internet right now.
No, that's fascinating. I don't understand the pods thing. Like, so you explain it to me one more time. Like I'm 5 years old.
Yeah, well, okay. Basically, all it is, and Scott said in chat, everyone's data is spread everywhere. Yeah, it would have to be starting at a point. You know, anything you have on Facebook, it's already gone. That ship has sailed long ago. But essentially, you could start to categorize new data into little containers that are only accessible if you allow them to be, is what it is. And so, okay, if a doctor's office wanted to access your medical data, they would have to have a plug-in essentially for the storage
specific
side
compartments.
of it. Yeah, and they would have to request it. It wouldn't just be like a free sale, just everybody take whatever you want. It's all fine. Because I think we've talked about it before, but it's not really something that we knew was going to happen. You know, when the internet started and when everything started happening, people weren't concerned about like, okay, we need to set up like what part of a person's data is their personal ownership. You know, how are we going to prevent people from just profiting off everybody's personal information like just wildly, you know, because there's no regulation on it at all really right now. I mean, if you lose it, that's one thing, but most people, they essentially make you sign an EULA that says we're going to do whatever we want with your data, and then they sell it. You know, that's the move right now. So
there we go. It's like pudding cups of info. I get it now.
Pretty much.
And now I understand.
Like, yeah. So if your doctor wants a pudding cup, they have to ask you for it, and then you get to give it to them.
Yeah, so the solid that you were saying is your lunchbox.
Yes.
And the pudding cup is the information.
Yes.
Okay, I got it now.
And so then if your doctor wanted to get your pudding cup, they would have to go ask your lunchbox.
I got it.
Perfect. But yeah, no, it's just cool to see what somebody who was so important to the internet was currently involved in. You know, he's very, very interested. I don't know. It's just one of those things where there's like some legendary stuff on the internet, and it's just interesting to see how it progresses. Okay, I'll throw it out there. Kirk, you might want to cut it because it's kind of like hot takey. Not really though, but it's very controversial. So I read an AMA the other day by the founder of Anonymous, the very famous hacktivist group. And he is coming out of retirement because he is going to try and take down QAnon. And it's like the wrestling match from the internet of destiny, because you have Anonymous going after QAnon. And I read his AMA where he was talking about all this. And I was just like, you could not have made anything that's more like internet drama possible.
It sounds fascinating.
Oh yeah, no, I will be watching what's happening here, and there will be podcasts made no matter what happens.
Q is an actual person, and I hope that it's somebody that we all know, and it's some super idiot person.
Carrot Top.
That's who. Yeah,
if it was Carrot Top, no one would see that coming ever.
Okay, so I found. I wish that I would have found this one sooner or thought about it. I've heard this story before, but I just popped up on my radar again. It's it's very spooky. It's very creepy. And it also is a Florida man. So I have a Florida man story for you guys. It might be a little bit long because it's such a crazy story. It's about the guy named Carl Tanzler and his obsession with Elena Hoyes. Elena Hoyes. And how he took his love for her just a little bit too far. True love, or at least true obsession, conquers all. In this case, it even conquered death. In 1933, Carl Tanzler was so head over heels for 21-year-old Elena de Hoyes that after she passed away, he stole her body and took it home, where he lived with the young woman's mummified corpse for the next several years. Tanzler would have continued his sick ruse until the end of his life, but he was caught in dramatic fashion by her sister, leading to one of the strangest cases of grave robbing and necrophilia of the 20th century.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I listened to that Florida Man on Florida Man show, and they talked about this one. It's just an insane story. And it went to court, and there was all this. And if you look at the pictures, like literally, he just looks like a nice old man. And way down at they show a picture of her.
Wait, her before she died?
Before she died.
Oh, thank God.
No. But then they have a picture of the mummified corpse, and it is a thing of nightmares. It looks like he put like a rubber mask on it, and it looks almost like,
oh my God, this is
Halloween.
horrible.
Are you looking at it? It's terrifying.
I'm not looking at it.
You need to look at it. Look at it. Did you look at it? Look at it. It's just a crazy story about how this dude was. 33? This was in the 30s. Yeah, in the 30s in Key West. I'll give a little bit of tidbits of the story. So the German-born radiologist came to Key West, Florida after leaving his wife and children in 1926. Once in Florida, he presented himself as a count and claimed to be a former submarine captain who moonlighted as an inventor. I'm a count. I used to be a submarine captain, and now I'm an inventor by night. The next year, he took a job as a radiologist at the United States Marine Hospital. Tanzler kept to himself, but when he met a patient named Elena de Hoyes, he came out of his shell. Supposedly, Tanzler had been dreaming of a woman with dark hair, and Hoyes fit the bill. He was immediately enamored with the young woman, and he continued to lavish attention on her as she grew more and more ill. And apparently, she passed away of tuberculosis, and it's just this crazy story. And at first her family was like, oh, he's so thoughtful and he cares about her, and he used to go to her grave every day. And the family was like, oh, he's just so broken that she passed away, and it's so sad. And then all of a sudden he stopped going to the grave, and they're like, that's kind of weird. He went every single day, and now he doesn't go at all, like not even once. It's because she wasn't in there anymore. He was in her freaking house. Oh, it's such a weird story.
This is horrifying on a level I was not expecting.
And they said he was observed dancing with the body. Like he would dance with it, like around the house.
Okay, this guy was not right.
No, he's not right for sure.
And okay, just beware looking at that link because it's horrifying. It does not get better. Yeah, he does just look like a little old German man, but that mask thing.
It's terrifying. Like I said, this would have been much better during Halloween.
Yeah. No, that's all over the place. That's craziness.
Yeah, it says they discovered that Tanzler hadn't just rebuilt Hoyo's body until she was more doll than woman. He'd also inserted... Never mind. I can't read that part. It's crazy. It's a crazy story, guys.
Yeah,
and
you're not wrong.
It's a Florida man story. Welcome to Florida.
That's terrible. Okay, I'm going to change this topic now. I read about a Japanese town that deploys growling monster wolf robots to scare away wild bears. So if anybody needs a little eye bleach after looking at that disturbing body thing, this is Robot Wolves.
Okay, I got to look at this because now I need to get that out of my brain.
A town in northern Japan has recently been plagued by a plethora of wild bears, roaming around neighborhoods and petrifying residents. In an attempt to prevent attacks, the town of Takikawa has now installed terrifying robotic wolves to howl at the bears and scare them off. So what they have is...
How is this better? I mean, it's better and not.
No,
these are terrifying.
Yeah, but that won't actually kill you. It's not a bear.
It's so scary.
Yeah, so it looks like a Halloween prop of a wolf that's on top of a bunch of megaphones, and it apparently will yell at you. It'll like growl and they'll howl at you and they'll flash lights in their eyes. So yeah, for little kids, there's no winning for the little kids in Japan. They're going to be having nightmares no matter what. But essentially,
this is how the chupacabra goes to Japan. This is what happens now.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, they're motion activated, and the idea is because, and they think that essentially the bear attacks are happening due to a shortage of food, and like it's just they've been approaching cities to try and find food, and so these monster wolves, these robotic wolves. As soon as the motion detector goes off, they start making 60 different horrifying sounds, including howls. And
have you listened to it yet?
I have not, and I'm not going to do it right now because then we're going to hit our... We can't do it on Twitch.
Oh, yeah.
But we linked it. But the company behind the machine said that it sold nearly 70 of them since 2018. And they're in various locations around Japan to protect crops and neighborhoods from wild animals. So it's a perfect solution. You build horrifying robot wolves to scare away the bears.
I just listened to it. It's so scary. So scary. This looks like something from like Halloween Horror Nights or something. Oh, man. So wolves are that, I mean, bears are that scared of wolves?
I think it's more like, what is this robot demon that's yelling at me? I don't think it's like, oh, that's a wolf.
Just scared of demon monsters.
They're scared of whatever that thing is. I don't think it's like, oh, there's a dog over there. It's like, oh, what is that thing? Robot demon with glowing eyes yelling at me.
I don't think there's anything that wouldn't be scared of that in the middle of the night. Oh, God, those noises are horrible. It's got like a strobe light tail. It's got bright red eyes.
Yeah, they wanted to make it's just a robot to scare bears away. The fact that it's a wolf doesn't mean it's extremely wolf-like.
It's going to give children PTSD.
It is. But you just tell the children, look, it's not real. It can't hurt you. But the bears can.
You've got to listen to that. It's so
good.
I
will. Just not right now because it will play it over the stream.
Oh, man. All right. Well, those were some creepy, funny, and great discoveries we had this week.
I know which one was creepy.
I'll take the bullet on that one. It was creepy. It was a creepy one.
Well, thanks so much for listening, and we will talk to you next week.
Bye.
There you go.